All right, let's dive in and break down the pretty powerful technical story behind Carnival Corporation. If you've been keeping an eye on CCL, you know there's been some serious action lately. So today we're going to get into exactly what the charts are telling us and why all the signals seem to be pointing in one very clear direction.
Okay, first things first, let's just start with the big headline number. In a recent session, Carnival stock just exploded, shooting up a massive 8.09%. Now, a single-day gain like that is always going to turn heads, but believe me, it's what's happening just under the surface that tells the real story here.
And that brings us to this little number, a technical score of 78.60 out of 100. Now, this isn't just some random grade. Think of it like a composite score that takes dozens of different data points and boils them all down into one single number that tells you about the stock's health. And a score this high? Well, that's sending a very, very specific signal.
And that verdict is strong bullish. Yeah, we're kind of giving away the ending right at the beginning here, but honestly, the data is just that clear-cut. Right now, the entire technical picture for Carnival is looking overwhelmingly positive.
So you see an 8% jump, you see a strong bullish rating, but the real question is why? What are the specific gears turning under the hood that are flashing so green? Well, that's exactly what we're here to unpack. We're going to look at the momentum, the strength of the trend, and what the road ahead might look like.
First up, let's talk about momentum. You know, whenever a stock makes a huge move like this, the first question on everyone's mind is this just a frantic, short-lived sprint that's about to burn out? Or is this the real beginning of a powerful, sustainable run?
And to answer that, we look at momentum indicators. Honestly, the best way to think about these is like a speedometer for a stock. They don't just tell you which direction it's going, they tell you how fast it's getting there and with how much force.
And what's really telling here is how all three of these key indicators are basically singing the same tune. The RSI, it's at 64.24, which shows strong buying pressure. But, and this is key, it's not yet in that overbought danger zone about 70. The MACD is positive and growing, which confirms the upward move is actually speeding up. And the stochastic, yeah, it's high, but it's still showing there's plenty of fuel left in the tank.
And this really brings us to the key takeaway on momentum. The analysis calls this the sweet spot for bulls. It's that perfect zone where the stock is showing undeniable strength, but it hasn't gotten so ridiculously hot that a pullback feels like it's right around the corner. The move is strong, but it feels controlled. So the momentum is strong. Check. But momentum, you know, it can be fleeting. So the next critical question is all about the trend's foundation. Is this rally standing on solid ground, or is it maybe built on shaky footing? Let's take a look at the underlying structure. To gauge that foundation, we look at moving averages. Now forget all the complex math for a second and just think of these as dynamic floors and ceilings for the price. When the price is consistently staying above these floors, it's a huge sign that the underlying trend is very, very healthy. And for Carnival Corp, whoa, it doesn't get much healthier than this. The stock is in what analysts call a golden phase. What that means is the price is above the short-term, the medium-term, and the long-term moving averages. And those averages themselves are stacked in perfect order from fastest to slowest. It is a textbook sign of a powerful, synchronized uptrend.
So the trend is strong, but a price jump on its own, even on a strong trend, can sometimes be, well, a little misleading. It's really just one piece of the puzzle.
The real question you have to ask is this: was anyone else at the party? Is this a popular move that's backed by high conviction and a lot of real money flowing in? This right here is where volume becomes the ultimate truth teller. And the answer is a definitive yes. On the day of that big 8% jump, CCL's trading volume was 1.46 times its daily average. We're talking nearly 50% more market participation than usual. So the crucial point is, this wasn't some quiet little move. It was a loud, high-conviction breakout that the market absolutely noticed and got behind. Okay, so we've established strong momentum and a really well-supported trend. Now, let's look forward. Let's pull out the map for the road ahead. What are the key signposts? You know, the opportunities and the obstacles for traders to keep an eye on. And to map that road, we use support and resistance levels. Just like those moving averages, you can think of these as price floors and ceilings. Support is the floor that the bulls really want to see hold during any dip, and resistance is that ceiling they need to smash through to keep the rally going. For Carnival, these levels are crystal clear. The immediate ceiling, or resistance, is sitting up there at $33.38. The floor, or support, is down at $30.82.
But maybe the most critical level right now is that pivot point right in the middle, $31.75. Think of this as the current battleground. For this breakout to stay legit, the price really needs to stay above this level.
So as we look at what's next, there's this really interesting trade-off to consider. On one hand, CCL has a low beta of just 0.472. In simple terms, that means it's historically been less of a roller coaster than the broader market, which is a nice little defensive quality. But on the other hand, the immediate hurdle is that it's getting really close to its 52-week high, and being this close to a major peak means it's staring right out a pretty significant historical ceiling.
So we've looked at the speed, we've checked the foundation, and we've mapped out the road ahead. Let's put all these pieces together for our final takeaway on why Carnival's case looks so bullish right now. So here's the summary. We've got powerful momentum that, crucially, isn't overextended yet. That momentum is built on the rock-solid foundation of that golden moving average setup. The big move itself was confirmed by a massive surge in volume, which shows real conviction. And finally, the path forward is clearly mapped out with those key price levels to watch. And all of this leaves us with one final, crucial question. All the technicals are lined up beautifully. The engine is running strong. But as the stock pushes right up against its 52-week high, that major historical resistance, will the bulls have enough power left to smash through that final ceiling? That is the billion-dollar question for anyone watching CCL right now. Thanks for joining me for this breakdown.